I'm here today with my good friend Summer Bach, who is an amazing herbalist, and I have a story, and I told you the story, so we decided we're going to do these bitters because they really saved me in Italy. When I was in Tuscany, for those of you who've been to Tuscany, you know Tuscans love their creams and cheeses and butter and everything. And they also like to eat dinner late at night, right? Not a good idea for someone who has dinner at early. Like, you know, I try to eat dinner about 6 and be in bed by 9. So it gives you time to digest your food. Well, in Tuscany, Italy, nothing happens till like good 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? So I go out for dinner one time and it says it's this rabbit and vegetables and a stir fried. And I'm thinking, perfect. I love rabbit and I need some vegetables. Awesome. The bowl arrives and there's all this brown, deep fried bowl of food. First of all, I never eat deep fried food. And it was so, the waitress was so sweet. And it was a pretty expensive meal. And I thought, there's just no way I'm going to say no to this. So I thought, suck it up, eat it. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, nauseous, in pain. I'm feeling miserable. I can't go back to sleep, right? It was just that feeling like you just like something, like a brick is sitting in your stomach. And I remembered, oh my God, I have your bitters, you know, on me, right? And so I know you recommend just going, we're going to talk about that in the video on how to use bitters. So you recommend to do a little spray. I'm thinking, spray ain't going to help this crisis here. I'm going to chuck it down. And hour later, so I did like probably a good gulp, you know, of the bitters. And an hour later, I went back to sleep. I woke up in the morning and it was as if nothing happened, right? Wow. Yep. So this is the power of bitters. And whether it's before holidays or for people who feel like whenever you have a heavier meal, food is just sitting in your stomach. But there's actually more to that, right? I mean, bitters have such a strong history. And I thought the best person to tell us more about that is Summer. It just heads up, you guys, we're going to be creating 2 videos. The first video, we're going to be talking about the history of bitters, the purpose of bitters, and some of the herbs that Summer picked for today for us to cover. And in video 2, we're actually going to get dirty and make one of the tinctures to show you how you can make it yourself. And if you don't want to make it yourself, we have an option for you too. So
I'm totally excited because I've been making bitters since 2000 when I learned in herbal medicine school. Yeah. And they fascinate me because they're a tonic. And there's some cultures where they take it every day before meals. Like that's what you do. Everybody sits around, takes their little shot of bitters, and then eats their meal. And there's many benefits. I mean, one interesting one that I've become recently aware of is that it helps stabilize your blood sugar metabolism. So for people who are insulin resistant or diabetic, this is going to keep an insulin and blood sugar spike from happening. Yeah. So I think that's powerful. Also, I mean, the obvious main benefit of taking these herbal bitters is that they help with your digestion. Yeah. So it's a cascade effect. It's like, you know, just the taste on your tongue itself immediately makes you start salivating. Yeah. It's bitter. I mean, it kind of makes you cringe. It makes you make a bitter face. And that's really important. It means it's stimulating your vagus nerve, which is then triggering every single organ in your digestive tract to make room for the food that's about to come in.
Yeah. So you're like priming.
Absolutely priming.
Total primer.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And you know, in every culture, like whether, for those of you who've been to Italy, you know, there is this, there's always an aperitif. So in France, an aperitif, right? And in Italy, you have like Campari, for example, is a good example, right?
Which is one of my favorite drinks.
Really?
Oh, I love Campari.
Oh my God, we gotta have one after this.
Okay, that's right.
You know, and it's the bitter in it, right? Whether you go to, you know, I grew up in Denmark, right? In Denmark, they have a digestive as well, called Ole Danske, which is Old Danish. You know, in Germany, you have a digestive as well. Every culture has an element of a digestive, right? And there's a very good reason.
Well, and actually, like, there's other cultures that may not have a little alcoholic aperitif, but they have some sort of food as part of the meal that's bitter.
Right.
And in the US, we like sweet things. Yeah. And bitter is the counterpart to sweet in Chinese medicine. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting to think about what happens when you're not getting enough bitter foods or bitter tastes in your diet. You're really just nourishing the sweetness of your life and you're not appreciating. I think people overdo sweetness without bitter.
Absolutely. So before we dive into the specific herbs, I just want to say one more thing about bitters is that, you know, bitter, like you said, in a Western culture, we are so much more towards sweetness. It's a forgotten flavor. And so one of the things that whenever you try a bitter for the first time, whether it's already a ready-made tonic or whether it's going to be something you're going to try making it at home, it's gonna be pretty intense. So bitterness, it is in kind of an acquired, developed taste. So give it a chance. It's a little bit like, somebody tries blue cheese for the first time and go, oh, yuck. But then it's just a matter of trying it maybe second, third time, and it gets more palatable. So much so that, people who really fall in love with bitters, they can't imagine doing a meal without them.
I agree. Well, it's similar to coffee.
Right.
Or alcohol, but coffee is a very bitter substance.
Yeah.
And so when children have their first sip of coffee, a lot of times they're like,
Right.
It's that bitter flavor.
Yeah.
And when you're young, bitter is a little less palatable. As you get older, you want to train your body to enjoy that flavor.
So just to straighten that out, I do not recommend coffee before a meal. So just let's make that clear.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the flavor profile.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, awesome. So tell us what you've got here for us today.
So our first digestive bitter that we're going to make, it really stimulates digestive fire. It's strong and not recommended actually for people with ulcers or people who have gastritis.
Okay.
But the main ingredient is gentian, which is a strong, delicious bitter. So gentian also helps as a blood builder, and it's going to stimulate all your gastric juices.
Okay.
Another ingredient in that is going to be dandelion root. And dandelion root is a liver support herb. I love dandelion because it's just a tonic herb. I drink it every day, dandelion root tea.
Yeah, I saw when you're here in my house.
As you've noticed. Next up, we're going to put orange peel in it. And orange peel is great because it has hesperidin, which is an anti-inflammatory. It also has vitamin C.
Yeah, and one more thing to add, orange peel also has limonene in it, which is awesome for the liver, is great for hormone detoxification. So another beautiful benefit.
Yeah, and it has this quality to it called carminative, which means it helps reduce gas and bloating and just helps general digestion. And that's our other tincture that we're going to make. Our other bitters is going to have fennel, and fennel seed is a carminative. It does that same thing. It tastes great.
Yeah.
And these herbs help balance the microbiome.
Yeah.
So they're actually slightly antimicrobial. Same with peppermint. I use peppermint for SIBO often, and SIBO is, an intestinal bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, and that's going to help with that. So peppermint's going to help balance out the microbiome subtly, and it has these oils that help keep you from having any kind of indigestion.
Yeah. Great.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think this is a good beginning, and this is the final product. And so what we're gonna do is show you exactly how to make your own bitter. If you desire to, if you have the patience for 30 days to wait, that's gonna be it. And if you don't, then this is what saved me in Italy, and that is the beautiful tonic from Summer. And so you make them. Guts and Glory is the name of the brand. I'm gonna do two. Whoa!
I love it.
And and what makes the orange peel brings a little bit of sweetness to it. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, I've had bitters that are worse than this. Like, you really makes you cringe. You just go. This is the sweetness from the orange is wonderful. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So
thank you.
The link is gonna be below this video, so you guys can get it right away. And if you want to experiment in your own kitchen, you have the patience to wait for 30 days. Love for you to learn how to make this. So let's move on to our next video.